YouTube, in a move that has shaken the entire NBA world, Luka Doncic has been traded from the Mavericks to the Lakers for Anthony Davis. And in this video, we're going to cover the full trade package, everything that was included in this trade for both sides. And then we're going to get into how this affects the Lakers on the basketball floor, as well as the Dallas Mavericks in separate segments of the video. And most importantly, how does this affect LeBron James' legacy? No, I am kidding about that, but we're also going to get into some fun topics after that, like, is Luka Doncic the best player ever to be traded, and is this the craziest trade in NBA history, folks? Without further ado, my name is D-Have, and we're going to cover everything you need to know about the Luka Doncic-Anthony Davis trade. Let's get right into the video, folks. So like most of you, I was relaxing last night. It was very late, and I received a update from ESPN out of absolutely nowhere and thought it was fake that Luka Doncic was traded to the Lakers for Anthony Davis. I scrolled on Twitter, found a lot of credible sources backing it up. It actually did happen. This is not a drill, folks. A top 5 player in the NBA, arguably top 3, Luka Doncic, has been traded to the Lakers. Now, as far as the trade package, this is actually a 3-team deal that includes the Lakers, the Mavericks, and the Utah Jazz, and the Lakers receive Luka Doncic, Maxi Kleber, Markieff Morris. The Mavericks receive Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and the Lakers' 2029 first-round pick. Utah did get involved in this trade as well. This is where it gets interesting. The Jazz received Jalen Hood-Schifino from the Lakers, the Los Angeles Clippers' 2025 second-round pick, and the Mavericks' 2025 second-round pick, and that is the full trade package. So obviously, there's a lot to cover in this video about the trade for both teams, and I don't want to spend a ton of time talking about, the surprising nature of this. We kind of went over that and all the stuff like that. I'm going to focus on the court and just, with these teams individually, how does this affect them, not only in the short term this season, but also their future? You know what I mean? Let's start with the Los Angeles Lakers, who receive Luka Doncic, arguably, the best point guard in the NBA. I think that's probably a good case to be made for that. Currently dealing with a calf injury, but there are reports that he could absolutely be back by the All-Star game, and so, could be back in a week or two, really. As far as this season goes, the Lakers are going to be in the hunt for a, title contention, right? No question. You have Luka Doncic, one of the best players in the league. You have LeBron James, and you've surrounded them with good enough role players to be able to compete for a title, assuming the fit works out with LeBron and Luka, and assuming everybody stays healthy. I think the Lakers are going to be right up there in contention in the Western Conference. The playmaking from this team is going to be absolutely bananas. Now, people are originally saying that, this will not be a good fit between Luka and LeBron. They both are ball-dominant playmakers who need the ball in their hands to succeed. I kind of don't agree with that all that much because, for one, you're going to be staggering them throughout a game. They're not going to be on the floor all of the time together. You're going to make sure, if you are Coach Redick, that you have an all-time great playmaker on the floor at all times. So you're always going to have one of them on the floor, most likely, and they will be staggered. Now, as far as the fit off the ball for one of them, I think LeBron is more than capable of playing off the ball. He actually plays a lot more off ball now than he has in years past. You think about his early days with Cleveland, the second stint in Cleveland, and a little bit in Miami. He was the point guard of those teams, basically, right? And even when the Lakers won the title in 2020, he was basically the point guard of that team. You're seeing Austin Reeves and some other people do a lot of the ball handling for the Lakers these days, and you're just going to have to move Austin Reeves off the ball at this point. Luka is going to be the primary facilitator and ball dominant guard of this team, in my opinion, and everybody else is going to have to adapt to that. Now, the one thing that I think the Lakers are really going to miss is Anthony Davis' presence inside. This team needs a center, and they're going to need it badly for this upcoming playoff run if they want to be serious. All of the great Western Conference teams have big men that can control the paint. You think about Denver, you think about Minnesota, you think about teams like OKC. These teams have interior presences. The Lakers at this point do not have much of that. You're going to be most likely starting Jackson Hayes at the 5, which isn't necessarily ideal, and then Christian Koloko off the bench as the backup. I wouldn't be shocked if the Lakers made a move to get a starting caliber center by the time the deadline rolls around, which is just a couple days away at this point of me recording. And so Lakers need a center. That's priority 1 for this team. But other than that, they are absolutely loaded at most positions. You have a ton of shooting at this point. You have 2 of the best playmakers of all time on this team. Luka Doncic, who is going to score so many points for the Lakers. He's going to average 30. The offense is going to be outrageous. The defense on the perimeter could be a little bit lackluster now, starting Luka Doncic and Austin Reeves at the 2. Not the best defensive backcourt I've ever seen, and it could be an issue for this team. LeBron James has also had to take a lot less of a defensive role later in his career to focus most of his energy on offense, as he can't really burn the candle at both ends like he used to in his days with Miami Miami, let's say, for instance. So the defense is going to be a big concern for this team, I will say, especially now without Anthony Davis being that lockdown presence who basically is the engine for this defense and the anchor at the same time. This could be one of the worst defenses in the league, all right? So they have to get an interior presence to cover a lot of those mistakes. But on paper, this looks like a absolutely feasible playoff contender on paper, all right? You have a ton of shooting. You have a ton of wing flexibility, especially with Vanderbilt back from injury. Defensively, he's going to be your best player. You have Rui Hachimura on the wing. You have guys like Cam Reddish and Dorian Finney-Smith. They're going to have to step up defensively. Dorian Finney-Smith now looking like a much better trade than ever before because of the defense that you're losing. And of course, Luka has played with him a lot in Dallas. But as far as the future, you know, LeBron is not getting any younger. He's not going to be playing for, 7+ years, okay? So this is now arguably Luka Doncic's team. And I don't see the Lakers making this move if they're not planning to give Luka Doncic a max extension sometime soon. This is their long-term plan in Luka Doncic, no question about it. And who doesn't want to be the centerpiece of the Lakers, as NBA royalty, basically? So Luka is probably going to be a Laker, for the very, very foreseeable future. LeBron could be on the move pretty soon, but for now, he is a Laker as well. But again, the center position is the biggest issue this season. You still have young talent. You still have players under contract for a very long time that are going to be essential. Dalton Knecht is going to have a bigger role. Like, if this team makes a move for a capable two-way center by the deadline, this becomes one of the biggest threats in the Western Conference. No question about it, day one. Now, as far as the Dallas Mavericks, right, this is kind of a head scratcher for them, okay? And we're not going to talk about too much of, why they made the decision to trade Luka. That's not really what this video is about. But looking at this roster on paper, I think people are judging it a little bit too disrespectfully as far as Anthony Davis goes. I've seen him being dragged all over Twitter because obviously when you get traded for Luka, you're going to be expected to play like a top 10 NBA player. But I will say Anthony Davis is that type of player, and he's going to transform this Dallas defense into an elite defense, okay? You have now, if you're Dallas, an all-star, all-NBA caliber point guard who is one of the most talented offensive players in NBA history in Kyrie Irving. You have a dynamic floor spacer in Klay Thompson. You have a really good starting four in PJ Washington. You have guys like Najee Marshall probably off the bench, and not to mention probably the greatest three-man big man rotation in the league. Most likely the most dominant front court you're going to see this year is going to be the Dallas Mavericks. Anthony Davis will never have to play the 5 position as long as Lively and Gafford are on the roster. You can just rotate these 3 big men in and out of the lineup. And Anthony Davis, as long as he's Anthony Davis, this is one of the best teams in the West day one, okay? This is a win now type of situation for the Mavs, but they have a short window with Kyrie Irving getting up there in age, with Klay Thompson getting up there in age, and with Anthony Davis, who is still young enough to be in his prime, but, who knows a few years from now if that's going to be the case. So the point is, the Mavericks are set up to compete for a championship this season. Like, they're going to have some of the best chances in the West to take down someone like OKC, to take down someone like Denver, Minnesota, these other teams. Mavs have set themselves up really nicely, especially if defense is their priority. It's going to be tough to score on this team on the interior. It's going to be tough to out-rebound this team. This team is going to be a force and physical on the inside. They have, plenty of offense to come from Kyrie Irving and Anthony Davis and guys like Klay Thompson and Najee Marshall to step up, PJ Washington as well. This is a situation, if you're the Mavericks, you're putting all the chips on the table this season to get that defensive anchor, to get that interior piece, and most likely run your system through Anthony Davis and Kyrie Irving, right? That's a pretty good combo. And I think the West is going to have a tough time, dealing with these 3 big men on the inside. And so there's a lot to like about the Mavs right now. As far as the future, it just doesn't look as bright without Luka Doncic, obviously being a top 5 NBA player, arguably top 5 player in the world at just 25 years old. You are mortgaging your entire future to go in a different direction this season, again, which is super surprising, but, it definitely could work out. And I do think Anthony Davis is being a little bit underrated in these conversations. Let's not get it twisted. This guy is a top 10 NBA talent, and when he is at his best, he is one of the best big men I've ever seen on both ends of the floor, okay? So short term, Mavs get a really good grade from me, probably an A, right? Long term, definitely, a C-, D-, F-, okay? Somewhere in that range. They are, they have a small window to compete, really well with some of these Western Conference teams, but in the long term, they're going to have to figure if they don't win, something big in the next couple of years, this team could implode on itself, all right? Kyrie Irving, 34 years old. Klay Thompson, 34 years old. Anthony Davis around that 30 years old mark. This is not the most durable team I've ever seen either. And so this is a really tight window, couple of years, 2-3 years, where they're going to have a real shot at this thing. But again, they kind of already did with Luka. Luka. So it's pretty interesting, but they're looking to build their team in a different direction. I think that's obvious with this trade. And like I said, for the Lakers, you know, this is a situation where you have a lot of flexibility. You can leave the roster as it is and see what happens this season. You can go all in on this year because you know you have Luka Doncic long term, and so you can go out and get that center, trade your picks, right? Try to make this, you know, a last hurrah of sorts for LeBron. You know, he's only going to have so much more time and so many more years of being this level of player. If you really are serious about competing within the next couple of years, you have to go out and get more pieces, particularly at center, like I said, and on the interior. If you're looking to make a long-term type of thing out of this, you might consider moving LeBron. Maybe at the deadline and maybe, you know, in the offseason, certainly, and build this thing around Luka and go in a different direction. That's all on the table for the Lakers. It'll be very interesting to see what they do before the deadline. If nothing is done, I would say LeBron's gone by the offseason because it wouldn't appear that they're, you know, looking to go all in. And so pretty interesting. They have a couple of options, a couple of different directions that could go long term and short term. We'll just have to see what Pelinka has up his sleeve. But as far as the trade, obviously the Lakers won this trade. It's not really even a question. The Mavs, that could change if the Mavs win a title this year, which they very well could with this roster. It's very, very capable of competing with anybody in this Western Conference on paper, in my opinion. Obviously, Anthony Davis dealing with an injury as well. Have to see how it all shakes up. I'm so interested. I love the NBA and I love talking about it. It's so fun to me. Now, as far as Luka Doncic, right? Is this the best, this version of Luka Doncic, you know, this player right now this season, is he the best player to ever be traded? All right. We're talking about an all-world offensive talent, top 3 offensive talent in the NBA, top 5 player probably in the world. Has there ever been a top 5 player in the world to get traded? Now, originally I actually thought of Anthony Davis on the Pelicans getting traded to the Lakers. That was pretty close to a top 5 player. You could say maybe top 10, so he's up there. James Harden with the Rockets being traded to Brooklyn. I think that's a conversation you could have whether he was top 5 or not. My mind goes to Kevin Durant getting traded to Phoenix. I'm not so sure he was top 5 at that time, but it's also something to note his age. He's 25 years old. We might have seen a player, you know, at this level as far as where the league is and stuff like that, top 5, around top 5, get traded, but were they 25? Were they arguably not even in their prime years yet? You know, that's something we definitely haven't seen, right? And so I think there's a real case to be made that Luka Doncic is the best player that's ever been traded right now. I'm not saying all time, right? I'm saying at the point in his career right now, he is a top 5 player. Has there ever been a player as good as Luka is right now to be traded? I just don't think so. I can't think of any. Maybe Dwight Howard with the Magic. He was a top 5 player at that time. Didn't work out with the Lakers. Obviously, he had that back injury, but at the time he was traded, he was a top 5 player for sure. Best center in the league in his prime. I don't know. I don't know anybody else who even comes close. I think Luka is the best player to ever be traded. Has there ever been a trade crazier than this? You know, that's something I definitely can't say yes to confidently. You know, like I said, you know, there have been really crazy trades. I don't know that there's been one this surprising ever. Like, this was an absolute nuke that was dropped on the NBA community. Again, you know, that Dwight Howard trade with the 4 teams involved was pretty nuts. All right. That was a big time league shakeup at that moment in both conferences. You know, a lot of stuff moved around at the highest level of the NBA, but I just don't think this might be the craziest trade in NBA history. Mavs fans, are you devastated? Let me know down in the comment section. I feel like I would be if I was a Mavs fan. I would be absolutely devastated. This guy is your franchise. He is your basketball life. He is what makes you most likely want to watch the Mavs all the time, other than it just being your team. And all of a sudden he's just gone, just overnight, like that, you know, like that, like no preparation. He wasn't even aware he was going to get traded. Like, this is just such, I would feel a devastating loss. You know, I can't even imagine what it goes on in your heads at this point. Lakers fans, how we feeling about the trade? All of your thoughts in the comment section. I want to know everything you're thinking. Who won the trade? Is this the craziest trade ever? Let me know down in the comments. Also, like and subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. Subscribe because, you know, we're going to be posting stuff like this all the time. This is a really quick recording of me just ranting at the camera with a little bit of bullet points written down in my notes. I had to get on here and record something about this. This is crazy, so I didn't want to take a bunch of time and wait a couple days. Subscribe also, just because, again, we're going to be doing a lot of stuff like this all the time on the channel, so if you don't want to miss it, please subscribe. We're on the road to 15K, and join D-Have Nation as a community member. It would mean a lot to me by just hitting that red sub button down below. Turn notifications on so that, you know, awesome content like this will just spawn in your inbox periodically. Who doesn't want that? And leave a like on the video if you guys did enjoy it. It helps more people find it. Subscribe to my other 2 channels. I have a 2K channel we're gonna be posting more on. New videos soon on that one, and subscribe to my 3rd channel as well. Links are both down in the description. We're gonna be posting a really fun series on the 3rd channel that I'm super excited about. So make sure you guys go subscribe to Dhave the 3rd. Links are down in the description. Follow my Twitter. That's my most active social media. Link is down in the description, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Luka has been traded to the Lakers for Anthony Davis and some other things. Hopefully you guys have a fantastic rest of your day today, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Yes, it really happened. This is your boy Dhave, and as always, peace.